that's the hardest part, is that no one company can reach their goals alone. We reach out and partner with our competitors and our peer companies because there's no IP in sustainability. And even though you think you're doing the right thing, you are doing the right thing. You're in compliance, you're launching a new thing, and it's sustainable. And they've been asking you for more sustainable things and to help them be more sustainable in their lives. And then they hate it. I think that it takes some courage and some resiliency to be able to withstand that and be okay with it and shift and adjust. We're not going to wait 5 years to investigate, research, test and learn, and launch a perfect thing and pass or fail. You can't be right. There is no right. There is just movement. How do you make that experience really wonderful and rich? And oh, by the way, it's more sustainable. And so I think flipping the script to be more customer experience driven and make that experience really a rich one that then encourages that behavior change. Don't get paralyzed by a seemingly unwinnable challenge. Just take a step forward, really embedding yourself in the customer journey. Go with not the less bad approach, but the really desirable approach that is exciting and craveable, and turn a negative into a positive.
It's enough to make anyone need a cup of coffee.
I can help with that.
Big grande. No, what's the biggest one? Grande?
Venti, Trenta.
Venti, right.
Pick it. Endless refills.
Quadruple espresso shot. Caramel bits. It's so nice to have you on, Amelia. First off, nice to meet you in person.
It's great to meet you. Thank you.
In person?
I know. Well, kind of.
Virtual person.
This is about as in person as it gets these days, I think, isn't it? To be honest.
Really true.
But you two know each other from a former life, don't you?
Yeah, we worked on the Procter business together, and specifically on Gillette, I believe, right?
Yes, it's been a minute.
It's been, it feels like yesterday.
It
was like a magical moment in my career path because it was just working with such great people, such smart people, and then such cool brands. It was a ball.
It was a sexy job. It was really, really cool. Big budgets, global campaigns, products that were part of customers' daily lives. I mean, it was so fun.
Yeah, we had Tiger Woods and Tom Brady and Rihanna.
Well, you guys killed it because it wasn't like Gillette was like one of the most successful brand launches ever in the history of mankind.
The Fusion one, I think.
You're welcome.
Amazing.
Yep. So, it sparked us both into greatness, me here with you and Amelia running the world from a coffee perspective.
There you go.
Yeah, I love that experience because for me, that started my brand building career from a place of really deep consumer appreciation, and I think that carried through all the way to the sustainability part of my career where, the importance of really understanding who they are, what their needs are, and how to motivate change started there in those P&G days.
So before we dive into all of that stuff, can you think of 3 things that have happened that have kind of paved the way?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I look at my career in kind of 3 chapters, which is convenient for the question. As we were just talking about, I started my brand building career at P&G, was lucky enough to work on big global brands, Duracell, Satin Care, Gillette Blade Razor. And I think that really instilled in me an appreciation for the consumer and what drives behavior and how to influence change and how to really understand what is relevant to them. And you don't launch any successful innovation without really understanding deeply what their motivations are, barriers, their unspoken needs, and really getting into that insight is a challenging thing to do because it's not data. It's not on the surface. It's really the emotional need that's unspoken. So I really kind of developed and honed that appreciation and foundation there. And then I moved to Starbucks, and what drew me to Starbucks was the mission and values of the company. I came to appreciate through marketing and product innovation and owning the P&L and all the roles that I had at Starbucks, really how important company mission and values are to customers. And I think it just hasn't been on the forefront like it is today. So I think the 3rd chapter of my career was where sustainability found me. And at Starbucks, I was asked to step away from what I was doing, which was leading the beverage business and start a new team, build the team, and tackle sustainable packaging from the perspective of our customer experience. And we had a CEO at the time that set really bold, ambitious, broad sustainability commitments that were very public. And I was asked to create some strategies, get real smart on the territory as fast as possible, hire the best people, and get after it. And I think that was a pivotal moment for me in my career, bringing together everything that I had done up to that point to understand the consumer, to understand behavior change, to get smart in problems that are really challenging. But it was also a pivotal moment for Starbucks because it really made sustainability embedded in the business units and the functions, decentralized sustainability from government affairs and PR to the functions in the business units and actually execution.
I have a follow-up question, just because when we started working in sustainability, so we had done big brand, marketing, and then started diving in on sustainability. And I think I came in really naive. I thought it was a lot easier. It's like, well, of course. It's just, put things in the blue bin versus the green bin and solved. What's the big... So I guess I'm wondering, coming from all of your brand marketing experience into sustainability, was that a hard transition, or did you have that naivety about it as well? Or
I totally did. I said, how hard could this be? People want to be sustainable, and we just need to figure out what Starbucks can do to position itself to be better for the environment. And the more I learned, the harder it appeared. There is no silver bullet. And so I think the mantra coming out of that is progress, not perfection. We've all heard it. Don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. And it was really overwhelming and really frustrating at first to sort of try this angle and that angle, and everything is stacked up against each other. So many tensions. Sustainability is fraught with catch-22s. It's also a fun challenge for anybody that really likes hard problems to solve. Then it's the right place to be. You have to be able to be willing to take steps forward without having the full picture or all the answers or everything baked.
I would imagine in a business that's effectively driven by very, very short-term, immediate trackable KPIs like throughput, like velocity, like amount of coffee sold, like amount of revenue made per store, lots of very, very immediate, tangible, seasonally driven kind of opportunities. How have you managed to kind of navigate the expectations with the business?
Yeah, I think, as Starbucks put sustainability at the forefront, created these big, bold aspirations, I think it was up to people like me within the company to create strategies in order to show progress. And there's always that debate of, do you put your resources against what's going to drive this quarter or do you keep investing in this territory? And I think that the approach that I tried to take was where sustainability could help those metrics. And so, one example is if we're trying to cut costs, we wanted to innovate on our cup, make it more responsible by taking weight out of the cup. You're actually removing material. And so you're ending up with a lower cost cup. We're in a transformation at Starbucks, bringing back to Starbucks, back to our stores, welcoming customers back in. And there are ways that sustainability can support that. And I think it's been a mindset shift or a pivot shift to flip the script on sustainability from being less bad or something to invest in or a strategic lever that is in opposition of what the company is trying to do and the metrics that we're solving for, and be really in service of that. How do you make that experience really wonderful and rich? And oh, by the way, it's more sustainable. And so I think flipping the script to be more customer experience driven and make that experience really a rich one, that then encourages that behavior change. And then the more customers feel comfortable doing that, the more cups you save from landfill is just an example.
I'm always really fascinated by the fact that convenience is the grease for capitalism, if you understand what I'm saying. So most of what we consume every day is designed to be as convenient as possible, basically, in order to reduce the friction of purchase and to kind of make it as easy as possible to consume. And obviously Starbucks being a business which is predicated on convenience, right? And I often find that convenience is the arch enemy of sustainability, because sustainability or doing a sustainable behavior means you have to think and do something that you wouldn't generally normally have to do. How do you navigate that? I'm fascinated. How have you guys managed to kind of wrestle that beast to the ground? Because that's a big one.
It is. It is. And I think with any sustainability topic, it's a multi-pronged approach. It's many different ways. First, you have to be where the customer is and deliver the best, most convenient experience that they want to have. And so for us, that looked like enabling a reusable cup in every order channel, if that's what you want, but not forcing it on customers who don't want it. We enabled, a customer to order a beverage in the drive-thru or on mobile order and pay and use their personal cup, which was new this last year. We had long honored a personal cup coming into the cafe, 10 cents off, 25 stars. But these highly convenience motivated on the go order channels of drive-thru and mobile order, we just brought those online. And that was for a small percentage of our customers who have been wanting to use their personal cup, because for them, just as important as their coffee, it's the cup that's meaningful to them. It starts their morning off right. It's comfort. It's whatever it is emotionally. And so just enabling that as a foundation for those customers. It's interesting, even though that's a small percentage of our occasion of people using personal cups, is a very passionate percent of our customer base. And when we unlocked that for customers, that announcement really garnered by far and away more social media engagement than our product launches in that window of time. It was very well received. So, we met those customers where they were without impeding the car behind them waiting for their coffee. We operationalized it in a way that was very smooth and seamless and quick and in our timing requirements so that the convenience of everybody was taken into consideration. I think the bigger thing is control what you can control. And we tested things like a store that is 100% reusable store. So as a customer, you walk in and you order your beverage and you get a Starbucks provided reusable cup that you return on your next trip. And we learned a lot from that. We also learned that there are environments where that just doesn't work because customers don't want to have to come back to the same store to return it, or they're traveling and they're going somewhere else and they need to find a place. But for enclosed office space environments, our headquarters, or somewhere in a mall where you're milling around, that works. So we've tested and learned a lot from that. And so where we can't control customer behavior, we can be available for them however they want to use reusables or for here wear or whatever is sustainable. But if they don't, then the cup that is disposable has less material, more responsible post-consumer recycled content, fewer lids, so the waste is minimized. And, the straws are virgin free, plastic free, PLA straws. So we're focusing in a number of different areas so that no matter what you get as a customer, it's a more sustainable choice than the coffee shop down the street. And if you do want to save a cup from landfill, there are any number of ways that you can do that.
So out of all of those things, because that's a lot, and the frequency of touch points that you have with people on a daily basis, I would imagine is a powerful transformational opportunity, isn't it? To start to embed consciousness and awareness of even the smallest little things, like, as you said, your PCR recycled content in your cups, removing virgin plastic from straws, whatever it might be. These little things in aggregate over millions and millions of cups of coffee sold every morning can have a tremendous impact. What's been the hardest part? What have you found the most challenging and the most difficult in coordinating and delivering and trying to manage this gap between aspiration and reality?
I think it's the things that we can't control that we feel a sense of accountability for. And whether it's upstream in, the regulations that come down, very well-meaning motivator of change, but maybe put companies like Starbucks in a catch-22 position where maybe the technology doesn't exist to deliver and to be within those regulations. There's also the end of life and the recycling infrastructure that, we've invested in, but we really don't have oversight over what gets recycled and what doesn't. So all we can do is, like I said, control what we can control, which is not good enough. And so I think that's the hardest part, is that no one company can reach their goals alone, that there's a whole infrastructure there that requires partnership and third-party relationships and consortiums. We reach out and partner with our competitors and our peer companies because there's no IP in sustainability. It shouldn't be Starbucks alone trying to do it. We can never do it. We can't do it without our customers. We can't do it without the infrastructure of, industrial composters and recyclers. And we can't do it without the municipality has a completely different set of requirements. And so it makes very disparate work out of it.
How is EPR legislation kind of impacting how Starbucks is thinking about its business model? Because obviously that goes right to the heart of circularity, right? That forces the hand when it comes to kind of embedding circularity into the business. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, on the one hand, Starbucks is involved from day one to be sort of a founding member and an investor in helping to kind of coach and counsel and be a part of this legislation. On the other hand, it's highly ambiguous. The timing is changing. It's very difficult to interpret what the law actually intends. So you've got internal teams from government affairs to PR to operations to the business unit. Every single team has to come together to understand what the interpretation of the law is and what the requirements are. So I think it's just going to be an ongoing journey. And the requirement is that we are in compliance. And I think the challenging part is interpreting what that looks like.
Just in our conversation two principles have just popped up, which I think are really powerful, is focus on what you can control, clean up your own mess. I mean, it's not difficult, is it?
Right. It's not, it's simple, but not easy.
Right. And the other thing that really resonated, and maybe it's a principle too, but is that I liked what you said around there's no IP in sustainability.
Right.
We kind of have to, I'll say we have to change our perception in terms of being protective of the things we've learned and trying to see that as like a proprietary intelligence from an organization and just be really free and open, because it takes so many contributors working together to make that progress happen.
Can you think of one moment or experience, Amelia, that for you kind of changed everything?
It's a good question. I feel like sustainability is this like slow, long journey, and every day you learn something new and you take a huge leap forward and then you get pushed back a few steps. So I do think the main lesson I've learned over and over and over again is this progress, not perfection. I think that Starbucks has long been in sustainability and a supporter of sustainability. It's been in our DNA, but like I said, it's been very centralized. And I think that pivot was also a pivot for me in terms of really appreciating taking the steps, even if it doesn't feel perfect. Going from accepting this challenge, being very motivated to dive into an unknown territory, learn about it and build strategies, and wanting to just be right, to realizing you can't be right. There is no right. There is just movement. That took suspending reality with a CEO that says we're going to do this big thing that nobody can really fathom their way to, that changed thinking to be big moonshot ideas and not small incremental changes that you feel really good and it's highly produced and it's well tested and finished product, and then it's going to go over the finish line. Sustainability won't allow you to do that. You don't have the time. And so I do think it was for Starbucks and for me personally realizing what progress, not perfection actually really means, and taking a step and realizing really quickly the feedback from customers, because either you're met with a wave of approval and appreciation and support, or you're met with a wave of discontent and disappointment. And even though you think you're doing the right thing, you are doing the right thing. You're in compliance, you're launching a new thing and it's sustainable, and they've been asking you for more sustainable things and to help them be more sustainable in their lives. And then they hate it. And I think that it takes some courage and some resiliency to be able to withstand that and be okay with it and shift and adjust. So I think that was a pivotal moment of saying, hey, we're going to go and do this big thing. We don't know how to get there. but we're not going to wait 5 years to investigate, research, test and learn, and launch a perfect thing and pass or fail. We're going to fail every step of the way and evolve continuously.
Certainly progress, but the other part is also being forgiving around all the things you're going to learn along the way so that the journey can continue and you're not afraid to go on the journey.
Yeah. And it's also vulnerability and being humble, because the more you pound your chest about whatever it is that you're launching, the less credible you are. And really, you have to be loud and proud about the progress you're making, the progress you're not making. And so, yeah, forgiveness for yourself and giving grace to yourself and to others, and also being really humble and transparent about it.
I often reflect on the fact that sustainability is hard. It is very hard for lots of different reasons, and it's intersectional, it's interdisciplinary,
It's ever changing.
It's interpersonal, it's interruptive, it's everything you can possibly think of.
Often expensive.
Yeah, and I often reflect that, it's going back to that old thing we used to say, the freedom of a tight brief. In other words, when there's beautiful constraints that are constantly put up that you have to navigate around, it just forces you to be better, and it forces you to find a solution, and it forces you to innovate. And I think for me, just at a personal level, and thank heavens I have this one here to help me do it, but I think it also forces you to be a better person, because you cannot do this unless, as you said, you're vulnerable, you're humble, you're self-aware.
You're open,
you listen, you look for collaboration and commonality. There's so many...
resilient.
Right, resilience. There's so many values and characteristics required to do and to be a sustainable champion. Can you talk around that at all from your own kind of personal experience?
Yes, we are warriors.
We are.
I have a lot of battle wounds. I think it comes down to your ability to influence without authority. You have to appeal, internally, like what you said. There are a lot of tensions, a lot of different functions coming in opposition. It's good tension, because at the end of the day, that's what breeds great innovation, is when you've got the business in mind, the supply chain feasibility, costs are in check, product that surprises and delights your customer and welcomes them in, marketing that is compelling. Like it all, you can find the synergy, but there's a lot of tension in that. Particularly at Starbucks, we have limited mind share of our baristas. We have limited real estate in our stores, and that breeds a big, matrix, a healthy tension matrix internally that you need to negotiate and compromise and tell the story in a way that's compelling. And so therefore, a sustainability leader in an environment like that really needs to be a CFO, a chief human resources officer, the innovator, the marketer. They have to really understand all the leaders that need to buy in and what their scorecard is in a way that can set up, the sustainability initiative to take the lead or piggyback on something or be in the DNA of something else or be in a scorecard that is, innovation is not innovation without all of these other checks and balances. Sustainability needs to be part of that. So I think it's about influence, and all of those things that you mentioned, I think breed trust. So I think of my team a lot of just coming in every day, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 5 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's just, I imagine those old toys, the Weebles, they wobble, but they don't fall down. And that's what it feels like all the time. You're just like ducking and diving and coming back up. And I think you have to enjoy the process of that without being so attached to a very specific outcome. You want to plant your flag at the top of the mountain, but you might switch back, or you might go straight up, or you might go around. But if you're too stuck on the actual activation or the way, then you won't be able to influence those around you to have the wind at your back.
There's so much in there, isn't there? There's a whole catalogue of wisdom just right in there.
What Amelia's making me think of too is how rewarding working in sustainability is. So even though, like you even talked about, like the switchbacking on the mountain, and it can be a really meandering path, but because of all the regulations, because of all of these criteria, so much is tracked. Like that's what I think so part of it so appealing is that you know where you're at mostly, or you put mechanisms in place so you do, and you see progress versus marketing. A lot of times, yeah, we always had to go by sales are up or not up or whatever, or eyeballs are on, web pages or banner ads. This feels so much more tangible from a KPI perspective. And I personally really enjoy that because I think I'm so accountability oriented. So I can feel good that even though it took a very long time to get there, it made this difference.
Yeah, it is. I think tracking is a huge part of it. To get it right takes effort. And, it's much harder to track the value of a brand. Over time you can garner a premium price point and it's relevant to the consumers. But I think that there are many ways and many KPIs that sustainability contributes to all the metrics of an enterprise. And they are in some ways easily trackable, particularly if you're thinking about waste, the volume of waste, the number of cups reduced, how many personal cups are being used, how many people are sitting and staying. You can tie that to an actual result, which is really so important because I think, anybody that we're engaging from a customer perspective in a habit change, you need to have that reward. And that reward can be many, many, many millions of cups that were saved, and so being able to translate that from a tracking mechanism to the impact that customers have. One of the early things that I learned that when I first set out, we did a massive global consumer research, foundation understanding. We did a customer segmentation around sustainability, what drives them, what motivates them, and many markets in the US. And of course, the surprising thing that came back was people don't want to be sustainable. It's such a polarizing word. They want to make their world better, really. And that's kind of clickbait words. People don't want to be sustainable. But by and large, what aligns everybody that you can activate around, what the common thing is that they just want to make their world better. And what that means is bringing it local, bringing it home, telling them the impact that they have. At the end of the day, it results in the same thing. That goes back to your point, Heidi, of how important tracking it is, and then communicating that in a way that is that reward that resets behavior.
What's the thing that still frustrates you every day?
Go back to the political side of sustainability. The regulations are so well-meaning, but hard to navigate and can be a distraction if they're not more coordinated or better communicated or more clear. I think that in a lot of these municipalities, we are digging through town hall meetings and PowerPoint decks to try and figure out what their new laws are going to be versus a federal law versus one in Europe. And so I think that's the challenge is we are a patchwork. It's frustrating to your question because you can't solve it. And you just have to do your best and navigate it, but it can be distracting.
I guess I am kind of curious how different groups are perceiving Starbucks' sustainability journey. From a lot of younger folks, a lot of kids even consume Starbucks on a relatively regular, even sometimes daily basis. I'm just kind of curious if there's been any difference in reception.
I think it depends on what you're exposed to and what you believe. I think now, brands aren't their own and they're not a megaphone for their value proposition. The brand is our customer's brand. And so there's so many voices out there and their reality is the reality for anybody that sees that. And there's a lot of conversation. So I think that there's a lot that we do in sustainability that people would be surprised by that they just don't know. So those that don't realize, I think, are challenging us to do more and to do better. And that's fine. I think we thrive on customers telling us how we can do better. But I would say anytime we launch something that is meaningful to the customer, and most of what my team has been working on for the last 5 years has been customer facing packaging, our cups, our straws, our lids, sleeves, that by far and away has so much power to engage customers, and it's so meaningful. And we see that reaction immediately and loudly. And like I said, sometimes it takes over even the product launch in that moment. It's so compelling.
What would be your kind of parting word of wisdom?
I think a theme is progress, not perfection. A quote, I don't know who to attribute it to, was action is the antidote to despair. for me is something that I draw on a lot, which is don't get paralyzed by a seemingly unwinnable challenge. Just take a step forward and then another step forward, really embedding yourself in the customer journey. Go with, not the less bad approach, but the really desirable approach that is exciting and craveable, and turn a negative into a positive.
Amen. I can go for that.
That's amazing. Thank you, Amelia.
This was so great. Thank you.
Good. Absolutely. This was fun. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so honored. It was great to spend time with you, Phil and Heidi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Later.
Bye.